Hey, what's going on everybody, and a warm welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, we review Bernheim Original Wheat Whiskey. You know the drill, folks, run that video. Alright then folks, before we get into today's review, if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. I know a lot of you out there who watch these videos have been subscribing lately, so keep up the good work and I really appreciate every subscription that comes through. That being said, we are going to look at Bernheim Original Wheat Whiskey. So this is a very unique whiskey in the sense that it's called a wheat whiskey, which means that it has to have over 51% of wheat, or 51 and over of wheat in the mash bill. There's not too many wheat whiskies on the market, and not many that I can think off the top of my head. I know that Heaven Hill have put out recently like an older age stated wheat whiskey, which I kind of assume might have been from older barrels from these as kind of like a special release. I haven't been able to get a hold of one of those bottles, but it's going to be really interesting to see some of the reviews that pop up for those. However, we're not reviewing that today. We are reviewing the Bernheim Original. So this again is made by Heaven Hill. Bernheim is like a town or a city, I believe. It's not quite a city. I think it's kind of more of like a town or village or like a district. I think it's close to like Clermont, and in between Clermont and Bardstown. So you have the Bernheim like woods or park and forest. So I spent a little bit of time around there. It's a really nice place just to go and walk around with like your family or some friends, or you can just do a little bit of a hike on your own. They have these like big wood trolls in that area as well, so they're really cool to take a photo with. However, let's get back to whiskey. So the mash bill on this is going to be 51% wheat, 31% or 37% corn, and 12% malted barley. So Bernheim never used to have an age statement on it, but they changed that and they put a 7-year age statement on it. And I paid about $30 for this. It's coming in at 45% alcohol by volume and 90 proof. A 7-year-old wheat whiskey for $30. Sounds pretty good value for money. As you can see, I've already drunk through this bottle quite a lot. I've had this bottle open for about 3 months, right at the back end of the summer there, is when I cracked this open. So let's get this whiskey into the glass and let's get on with the review. Solid cork pop. So just, you can see as the color we're pouring this in, it's kind of like a golden hay color. It's fairly light, and that probably contributes from the wheat, the wheat in this mash bill here. Again, it looks quite thin. It is only 45% alcohol, so bear that in mind there as well. Almost looks like there's a little bit of particulates in the glass as well. Not sure what their straining methods are, but there's definitely some stuff in the bottle there. However, let's get into the glass for a nose here. So I'm definitely getting like a really nice like honey sweetness straight off the bat there. Maybe like some cinnamon as well. Some nice apple notes. So I'm thinking kind of like an apple pie with a little bit of cinnamon and like brown sugar dusting on top. And you're getting a touch of vanilla there as well. So maybe add a little bit of creme fraiche to that apple pie you got going on there. It's actually a really inviting nose. When I first opened the bottle, it hasn't changed too much. It still has the same notes and the same potency of those notes. And I actually think that it has a really inviting nose on this whiskey. Let's go in for a taste here. So it drinks really easy, as you would expect from a 45% alcohol drink. You get a really nice sweetness up front. You get that cinnamon that's still there as well. You also get like a really nice cherry note. If you think of like a Buffalo Trace type cherry, it's very similar to that kind of cherry note in this Bernheim, which is why I really like this whiskey so far throughout the bottle anyway. And also you do get, there is a little bit of kind of like a wheaty cereal note that you definitely do pick that up. And that maybe that tells us why too many distilleries don't really go into kind of like the wheat whiskey kind of venture when it comes to whiskey, because it must be really difficult to kind of get rid of that wheat note, because it's like a very powdery, wheaty note, but it's not, it doesn't consume the drink at all. It doesn't take over, it doesn't really detract from any of the gooder flavors, but it must be a really hard note to kind of round out, because I could see, if not done properly, that could kind of consume the whole drink here. Let's go in for another taste and see if we can pick apart the finish here. So there's a little bit of spice on the finish, more of like a peppercorn spice. Like there's no rye in the mash bill here, so you're not really gonna get any like rye spice notes. You just have that malted barley as the kind of backup note there from the corn. It's a pleasant. There's nothing off-putting in the finish. It's just not too much going on. You get again that kind of wheaty, grainy note is definitely there. It's a little bit more subdued than it was in the palate. The cherry note is still there as well. There's a touch of sweetness, but then it kind of just falls off a little bit there, and kind of gently goes away without disturbing your senses too much. It kind of just tells you, I've done my job. I've taken you on this short, kind of nice journey, and we're just going to be done with things, and you can enjoy the whiskey. So let's get into some of the notes on this one when it comes to value for money. So what we like to do, we like to value grade the bottles of whiskeys that we taste on this channel. A being the best value for money, and then F being the worst value for money. So again, paid about $30 for this. This is a 7-year-old wheat whiskey. There's not many wheat whiskeys on the market. I will give this an A, just because it's such a niche category. Like, you're not getting wheat whiskeys on the regular, and if there is a wheat whiskey out there other than this, I'm sure it's not $30, and I'm sure it's not 7 years old as well. So this is a really good whiskey to kind of crack out to your kind of whiskey friends, and you know, you can kind of pick apart what a wheat whiskey kind of tastes like. It's a little bit on kind of, like I said, on the niche side, so I think it kind of definitely has its own place in the market for that. The bottle is a pretty solid bottle. I think they haven't changed the bottle for ages. The label has like the big label on the side here. Talks a little bit about the recipe and the oak char that they use here. Has a little bit of a booklet there as well, and then the top was all waxed up as well. So for $30, you get a wax cork, you get you're getting the little booklet there as well. So I think, you know, you're getting really good value for money. So that's why I give it an A. So for rating, we do 0 to 100. 100 being this like awesome Herald bottle, and 0 being absolute drain cleaner. I'm gonna give this a solid 71. I think that's a really fair score for this bottle of whiskey. It is a 7-year-old whiskey. I don't get too much of those oak notes coming through. Like I said, I do get some of that kind of like powdered wheat note there as well. Like I said, it doesn't detract away too much from the other nicer flavors, but it's definitely there, and it definitely takes you on a separate journey at times away from those other flavors. So I hope you enjoyed my review of the Bernheim 7 original wheat whiskey. And as we say on this channel, as we drink through the world's whiskeys, one glass at a time. Cheers.